Okay. All right. So, welcome back to another podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to get this thing started. With me today, I have a very, very special guest. My friend, a confidant of mine.
Absolutely.
Somebody who I've known for one of the longest people I've known in my life and still stayed connected with. I met him in...
Circa Willy Wonka 2008.
Yes. In my 5th grade year, his 4th grade year, we were in a musical together in elementary school.
Where I can remember one memory that sticks out in my head is when we're miking up and getting into our costumes in one of the empty classrooms, and you're putting on your mic, and it's one of the mics that wraps around your ear.
And you get like taped to your face.
Yeah. And I just remember, like, I think I had a mic, or maybe I held a mic as a prop, so maybe I was just had that mic, which is why I was making a comment to you about this mic. And he's like, yeah, I just wear these for fun around the house.
No, I really do. No, that was some dumb stuff I would have said.
Well, honestly, looking back now, with your dad being a musician, maybe you would have those lying around the house.
No, but that was just me saying.
That was a strut fest?
Yeah, that was me trying to flex the old muscles. I mean,
dude,
I was Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
in 5th
I was
grade
starstruck.
in Willy Wonka the musical. So
dude, and your falsetto was off the chain. Like,
where did it go? Where did it go?
No, you still have it. That's the thing. Like, it was a little bit, it was angelic.
Oh, well, you're too kind. But anyway, why we're here today. This is, of course, Devon Solwold. And I'll let him introduce himself a little bit. But we are here to talk about an upcoming short film. Well, not even, it is already in existence. I guess it's just not released yet. Yeah. But something that you've been working on for quite a while. But I'll let you kind of explain who you are in the context of the short film. So.
Yeah. So, Empty Nesters is the name of the short film. I am writer, director, editor of the short film. And it's been something that's kind of been in the works, and only up until recently became kind of a day-by-day sort of process. But it's been in the works since last fall. It was something that I wrote for in a class that I was taking in the fall at Savannah College of Art and Design. And it was something I didn't think much of. It was really just a writing exercise as a part of the class. But it was something that just, stuck with me for a little bit. And then it was around this time of year, actually. I think it was right before I went back to school at the top of the new year, last year.
Yeah, right
when
he started.
Yeah, and I had talked to my parent, because it takes place at a lake cabin. And so it was one of those first times that I was maybe humoring the idea of actually going ahead and doing it. And once I got a few yeses from a few people who I really respect and strive to work with closely on as many projects as I can at SCAD. Once they started saying, that they would be interested, it kind of became real. And then once my parents were like more than on board with it, I was like, absolutely trying to make it happen. So ever since then, it's kind of just had a life of its own. And then was supposed to be filmed over the summer, and then didn't work out, and ultimately got shot in late September. And so ever since then, I've just been editing, ever since October, just editing the film and finding it, to be what it ultimately is. They always say that, you're writing the movie you want, you're filming the movie, what is it? You're writing the movie you dream about or something, you're filming the movie you want, and you're editing the movie that you have. Something like that. But whatever it is, I butchered it, but it is really figuring out, like, at this point, the notes and the ideation and feedback and just kind of the time that you put into the editing process. Once you have all the footage, you have your film, it's that chisel on the rock and really deciding, but also discovering what that movie is. And it's one thing that I haven't really been able to do as closely as other projects in the past, because
this is the first time that you directed, directed, and then edited a project. Now you've, like in other projects, you've edited and written, correct? Mm-hmm. But this is your directorial debut, as they say.
Kinda, yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Okay. There's only been a couple of projects that I've been able to direct that are of merit, I suppose.
Well, you can't forget about The Untouchables.
Dude,
that was in high school.
Dude, and it will always forever be, like, posters don't lie, and I've got a, like, 24-inch by 136-inch or something that actually right next to us we have a banner that it comes
It's
out of that
size,
apparatus.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
That's
it's not to be messed with. But
Yeah.
and I still have good feelings of nostalgia around that movie. But
Now, so something I wanted to note. This has become your senior project at the school you attend, which is SCAD. And that's Savannah
College of Art and Design.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is the program you're in, would you remind me what the name of that exactly is?
Yeah, so it's just literally just BFA in film and TV production. Because there is a cinema studies major program that you can go into, and I think that's just a BA.
Okay.
And then there's a dramatic arts BFA that I'm minoring in.
Oh, okay.
But then other than that, there's then there's the performing arts department, and what is really cool about SCAD is and they do try, they actually put a lot of effort into making this work, is that there is a lot of synchronicity between those departments.
They cooperate.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, big time.
Okay.
And there's even a production design major too, which I neglected to mention.
Yeah.
But there's a really strong emphasis on making that all of these programs in the entertainment arts program, or all of these majors in the entertainment arts program, School of Entertainment Arts, work together.
Mm-hmm.
and really we're a one-stop shop because of that, because we can go, if we need it, if we so need it, we do have even a casting office.
You can get the actors, you can
local.
get the crew, you can get everything you would need to film something.
And of course we have a film cage where we can get our crew, or our gear if we needed it. Mm-hmm. And obviously for Empty Nesters I didn't have to, we really didn't use, I was the only SCAD person, existing SCAD student on the project at that point, but there was a lot of alum from just the year before. Mm-hmm. But that's always been their the championing idea that they
that's
want
their
to strive
MO.
by. Yeah, for sure. So anyway, and so like for Coca-Cola, that was something that was really nice to use. Their casting office was a really nice asset to have. And then of course, just having that bounty of resources on every single end of the filmmaking process was just really nice. And it's something that you take for granted, because it really actually, at least from what I've heard from friends that I know from other schools, even as prestigious as NYU, UCLA, they don't have a casting office. They don't have departments that and it's nothing against them, because they're doing okay.
Yeah.
But it is something to consider.
SCAD is unique.
Yeah. When you are, and for me, when I was looking at schools, in high school, and not really know, obviously USC is the prescribed path to glory, if you wanted to go to film school and be successful, because that's just caked on every single
it's what's known
website, and is what's known, and is continued to be known for years. It's just got a reputation of steel.
Yeah. And
same goes for NYU. So but actually being able to know that there are nuances to every single department that could decide what your preference is, and so I just happen to get lucky. But knowing that those are the things that are offered, and knowing that the volume of productions that you can work on, student-led productions, but also because of how close Savannah is to the Atlanta Film Hub, there are so many opportunities to be able to work on day playing on actual film productions. Literally, Lady and the Tramp, Disney Plus's Lady and the Tramp, was filmed in my apartment's backyard, like no joke. So stuff like that, awesome. Or Killer Man, which was a Liam Hemsworth film, that was just right down the street. Mm-hmm. I went to grab milk and I passed Liam Hemsworth to get there. Like, it was like one of those things. Yeah, of course. So anyway, kind of a tangent off of the school, but that's the school I go to. So
something I wanted to ask you about. You had alluded to this earlier, but the whole film, or most of the film, is filmed and shot at a lake cabin.
Yeah.
It takes place there, and you were able to use your family's lake cabin.
Yeah.
So I know you filmed in a handful of different locations.
Yeah.
What is it like to film in kind of your family home? Like, you're very familiar with the cabin.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's kind of got to be a little bit of a different vibe, for lack of a better term, than filming at somewhere you've never been before.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, just having your, mom potentially, or mom or dad or whoever is there from the cabin just around, seeing you in your element. Like, I imagine there are different aspects and variables at play, or at least different feelings for you.
Oh yeah, no, it's the central reason why it was different. It was like the central reason why I feel a certain way about it. Even if I were to shoot somewhere else, having it be my senior project, I'd feel an allegiance to it just by that. But because of how close to home, literally, it was, that was a big factor in a lot of just how I approached it, or how I feel about it. Maybe even a dangerous protection I might have over it, sort of thing. But just to kind of give a quick recap to what the film's about, it's about a young Midwestern family, and they're on the brink of starting a family. A lot of people,
like
our
a newly
age.
married couple, or
and it takes place literally in this
community,
in this
right?
state. In this time. They bring up Zorbas in the film. They have a junkyard brewing hat on one of the characters' heads. So kind of gives clues as to where it is, and
deeply kind of Moorhead, Detroit Lakes, Minnesota area,
right,
Red
that
River
lake country
Valley.
culture and everything. And they're on the brink of starting a family, and it takes place in the fall of 2020. You see that with, again, some more clues alluding to the
COVID, right?
Pandemic and everything. And it's kind of what you learn to see is kind of their unspoken last-ditch effort to saving their marriage, because at this point, the lead character, Leah, is going into these episodes of doubt about the person that she's decided to spend her life with, and these kind of, in her case, dooming questions about that loved one kind of becoming a stranger in your life, and the question of whether or not it's possible that she might very well be growing out of him, only a month before having their baby. And so
some heavy stuff.
And so then having it housed in, having that story kind of be housed in the cabin I grew up in, and having a big pivotal scene occur in my parents' bedroom, and some scenes happening on my pontoon, all the above, like kind of the whole 9 yards, all of those elements that are baked into kind of my identity and my upbringing here, and is just a big factor into how I decided to really just lean into that, and just embrace the that those personal notes to it, and just let those questions and let those instances kind of just be what they are, and not try to deny them, and not trying to neglect them, but just have them exist in the space, and welcome them to kind of have the story move forward, and being open about it with the crew and the actors, just as far as, I don't know, it's something I've really believed in, kind of trying to preserve preserve the film as a time capsule to how I'm feeling right now. Like, that's just like, I'm guessing it may, who knows, and that's when I'm saying feeling right now, how I feel about relationships, where I'm at in my own life when sharing the questions of sharing your life with somebody, knowing that will change, but right now, and especially in such a turbulent kind of emotional time, just as a foundational piece, being that this is a time for a lot of people to be stuck at home, without a choice of being able to go off and be social, or go off to their own devices. They're really forced to kind of be introspective as to the life that they've laid out for themselves too. So it's just kind of like trying to preserve that, even if it could get a little uncomfortable, a little daunting, at times too. So that's that, knowing that I guess having that be the sort of thesis of my approach to it, and being open to that, and being open to those conversations with my parents, or with people close to me, or friends like you, and stuff like that. Having that just kind of be the foundation of that is what I
Yeah.
what I really want. You know?
I think you put it really well, because knowing you, and I have seen the film at this point
Yeah.
before it's been released. At least I've seen a version of it.
Yeah,
You know, I know
right.
it's
Now
always
we have
evolving. But,
we've abridged it a little
Yeah.
bit, or kind of made it shorter.
but I think it is interesting to kind of from the outside looking in. There are a lot of real emotions that connect to you and that apply to you, but also some emotions that probably don't apply to
Yeah.
you, that I think you really weave into your life in the cabin and in the space that you're familiar with and that you've really existed in.
Yeah.
And I think you do that in an authentic way. So
Good.
that's commending you. But also I just
Well,
think
that's good.
it's had to have been interesting to experience that. And now
Yeah.
another question that I maybe want to ask is that how is your approach to like talking to the actors and directing the actors when you are so closely linked to all of these different aspects and all of these different parts of the production? How do you allow the actors to really take the characters as their own
Yeah.
and live in the characters while still having the story that you want,
Yeah.
right, as the directing part of it? Because I've always thought, I've done a little bit of acting as a kid or as in high school, and you always have to toe the line between making the character your own but also pleasing and following the direction that you're given by the people in charge. So
Yeah.
I don't know how maybe your approach, because I know you've mentioned that the actors are phenomenal. The main two, especially, both the couple that the
Jenna
film,
and
yes,
Kevin, yeah.
and
They're
it
incredible.
really, like, they do a great job.
Yeah.
So something
Yeah.
worked, but how did you go about doing that?
Yeah. Well, so I guess just to kind of start, that is true, and I really, could have fallen prey, especially with my sensibilities inherently as a person, being so close to the project and having an idea about that and having that idea grow and having those growing ideas kind of serve the rewrites that ultimately became what the script was and what the script that these actors read, came out to be and all that. The idea was always, because we were just leaning into it being kind of an alternate universe where these folks could live in our lake cabin, or could have our lake cabin as their own, with the neighbors that they have right next door, kind of like the neighbors that I have literally next door. All of those are it could be a story that could apply to those two characters, and they could just be the family next door that we know, and that I've grown up with in Detroit Lakes. And so knowing that I wanted it to be separate from that but still have a stake in my life, and having those that already be apparent just by the choice of location and et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to start right off the bat to just let them feel an agency to those characters, and let those characters be set free. Like I did what I could, and I will be the navigator, when they need me.
Yeah.
But it is their that those characters is their own engine. Like they can, that's their job, and they should feel ownership over that, and they should feel like they're able to make those choices and make those mistakes on set. So what we started off by doing right away, when we decided on the two actors, we were obviously one of my actors, Jenna, is based out of Brooklyn, and then Kevin is living in Los Angeles right now. So we were beginning the rehearsal process virtually.
Yeah.
And so I would be at the cabin, and I would call in, and we would do what's called a script feng shui. So this was one of the first preliminary piece of the process that we did. And I don't want to take any credit for the name or anything. I've got an amazing executive producer, Darren Dean, who curated this process that he's been doing on his own, and I just happened to kind of adopt it and take it into my own with the actors, because what was initially the process was a script feng shui between the producer, which was Darren, and the writers, and going through and combing through the script line by line, and it was to ensure that the intention of the writers was solidified in something that had intention.
Yeah.
Period. And just having that conversation, and not being an argument of corporate interference where you're going into the script and forcing changes or anything, which I've had experience with, which is fine. Limitations are always good, but it's more, again, to just asking questions, opening the floor and being able to ask those questions, having the actors right away being able to feel like they have ownership over their character by speaking up if a line doesn't feel right coming out of their mouth, or if it doesn't feel like that's a choice that they would make, or what have you. Like that was the kind of the play place for that was kind of just right off the bat being super clear about them having that agency. Okay. So we would go through the script, and I tell you, it would take like 4 hours every 3 pages, just because we would go into these kind of deep dives into
almost.
And I'm Mr. Tangential anyway, so I was probably not helping in that, but it really got us familiar and comfortable not only with the script and the material, but with each other. So then by the time that they got into Minnesota and we were in the space, they were familiar with each other, and luckily their flight in and out of Minneapolis, because was together. Okay, and so they got to see each other and meet each other beforehand. I picked them up from Hector International, and
that's hilarious. I wanted to ask, because they do act like a couple in the short film. Yeah, and
Kevin's married, and Jenna has had a relationship for I'm not exactly sure, but a long time.
She has another significant other. Well, because they act there's not any sort of extreme passionate love scene that goes on and on, but they act like a husband and wife would, or that partners would, that would be our age, and it seems like they really do have an intimate relationship. Yeah. And just again, from not being an actor and being somebody who just enjoys film, I wonder, it makes sense on like a 2-year-long film, or when they're filming for months at a time, and those actors and actresses can really be together like intimately, right? But in this sense, they only had met each other a couple days before the shoot, right? They didn't have a lot of time face to face, at least.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was aside from a few pretty lenghy Zoom calls. Yeah, and I get the Zoom
calls help, definitely.
It can help. Again, as it be an icebreaker, as it be a place to challenge the script and so on. Like I said, it was just also virtual. So having them come together and whether you like it or not, be together for I think what was about 5 to 7 days. I think it was 6 days actually. Okay. They're not only just so flippin' talented and such thoughtful actors and artists, but they're also just great people, and we were also lucky to just have really liked each other so much. Yeah. I mean, right off the bat, like I gotta pinch myself, because I need to remember that given that this is a kind of a first big experience for me in this role, and telling something so personal to me, I do have to remember that it's not always going to be that way, for the sake of just saying and knowing how positive it really was for all of us to be so in frequency with each other, and that's just because of what pros they are. They were pros.
It's a testament to their professionality.
Yeah,
their professionalism.
We would be in between takes, and they would be they were just so comfortable with each other, and they would just hop into the take like it was nothing. Yeah. And I'm not just talking about the moments that aren't have any dramatic weight or any big dramatic moments. Like all moments, even the dramatic moments, they were just pros. They were just able to slip right into it and then we'd go on our dinner break, and we'd have a great time as Devon, Kevin, and Jenna. And then once we got in, it was Aja and Leah, and
that's awesome.
They were just heaven.
So another thing I just wanted to bring up too is that you also got to work with they're all professionals, the actors and actresses that you were able to work with, but you did get to work with one actress from the original Fargo movie, the Coen Brothers movie, which I feel like is just full circle in a way.
Oh yeah.
Being that we're from Moorhead, Minnesota, which is sister cities with Fargo. It's like
it's a joint community.
It's a joint. Area. So we're from Fargo, Moorhead, and that is the one film that you're from Fargo. Like the movie. Yeah. And so just that being kind of our background, and specifically your background as a filmmaker, it must have kind of been, not that Fargo is the all-time greatest movie or even maybe your favorite movie, but it is a great movie, and it's just kind of so revolving around our hometown. Yeah. And you can maybe speak a little bit more to that, but I wanted to just ask you about that.
Yeah, no, I had always thought, I was actually on another podcast with JJ Gordon, who's a local personality, and he's got a really cool podcast called JJ Meets World.
Shouts to JJ.
Yeah, and he was actually my improv teacher back circa 5th grade.
Hey, that's perfect.
So, but really good guy to talk to, and had kind of dropped the idea into my head, incepted the idea into my head about working with Kristen, and this was in August or something. So, so that kind of grew into thinking maybe considering trying to get a hold of her. And once I did, we had really great conversations over the phone, Kristen and I, and she is just also a brilliant artist in her own right, because she has really, really good questions about the character, and will keep me on my toes when we were talking about those things. And it is crazy to know that really she was only on set for 2 hours tops. That's awesome. But it just felt like she had showed up to set, and her presence and her preconceptions of the character, with her significant other, her partner in the film, her partner character, she showed up having a life behind her with this character, and it's with her own character and with the character who plays her husband, or the actor who plays her husband, Scott Horvick, and they were both great, but really, like, just I don't know, it's a breach of tone in the most fun way, and it was something that I didn't know was needed until Kristen showed up on set, and she was timid on the phone and super introspective and had these questions, and was just super mindful about taking up my time. And then when we showed up on set, she was Mrs. Robinson, like, that's the character. She was literally that character, and completely switched, those sensibilities to serve that character. And she was just a ball of energy. I just remember even Kevin, who plays Aja, we had started the day with a quick car scene. It's just right when the two lead characters land at the cabin in their Jeep, and they're kind of gearing up to go into the cabin, knowing that their neighbors, their well-known neighbors of a long many years, are just outside, and that they're going to have to do that Midwestern back and forth.
Greeting.
That Midwestern greeting that takes a long time, and it's no different to how I am every time I get out of that same car and go down that same sidewalk and say hello to my neighbors who do live there, and I love it. It's ritual. But that energy that she brought even helped Kevin when he was stuck in the car, and they had to do that first scene in the morning, and then seeing Kristen show up and having her energy, it led into a perfect volley of kind of experimentation with all the actors, being able to try new things and banter, and
that's great,
and have that rapport, kind of that cadence of their dialogue play back and forth in different ways, because it was freeing, and that's what she brought. So not only did she bring such a great performance on screen, but she set the tone almost in a way that a director should almost set the tone.
That's interesting.
And she just did so because she was so prepared and so ready to rock and roll.
I mean, she really is. She was probably the actor or actress there with the most industry kind of experience.
She's had, I mean, right? She's got.
She's
she has
not
a
that old.
She has a Roger Deakins close up, man. Like
she's
had that, and everybody that I know, including myself, would love a Roger Deakins close up. So she's got that, and she's got so much experience in different techniques, acting techniques, and one that I think she brought in that I'm a total layman in. So when I describe it, it'll be like a layman does. But she brought this technique / approach / method, what have you, of the clown school, and it's not Clown with the Red Nose, but and I should really just as a director know more about this, but it's a feeling of kind of bringing the performance with a rich level of expression, almost theatrical level of expression,
like a play format, where live theater format. You're saying where you have to over exaggerate,
right? But it comes from this core vulnerable side or vulnerable center that is super that grounds it still. But it's like, so when you see that, it's not a veil of performance. You don't see the makeup and the light. It's like it's this really, like I said, really internal. It's still based in this internal kind of homework that she had to do.
Interesting.
But it was just bursting with it. I mean, in between takes, she would just be doing lip trills and not in the sense of an actor doing lip trills, but as Mrs. Robinson, just like doing all this stuff. It was super, super interesting. Like we were all on set, just taking notes, in between setups and everything, and just watching. I mean, it was just so fun to observe, and perhaps we went a little overtime during that scene just because I was kind of having just such a good time with it.
That's awesome.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's great. She was so excited afterwards. She makes the by the way, both those two characters that I'm describing as the neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Robinson, their first names are Wally and Lorraine, which is my grandparents' name.
Oh,
and
that's special.
She sends the two lead characters off on saying, as they go inside to their cabin, she says, I made you a batch of Scotcheroos, which is basically Special K bars, but it's a Midwestern name, which that's my grandma's specialty. And so she even wrote, there's a little pan insert of a pan with from the kitchen of Lorraine, and in the note, or there's a little post-it note on top of the pan that once we wrapped Kristen, who plays Lorraine Robinson, she came in and she wrote a little personal note for Aja and Leah and put it on the batch of Scotcheroos for the next scene that we were shooting, which involved
that's
that.
Awesome.
So just really, really cathartic,
kind
of experience with her, and I think she felt the same, which is only
that's great.
Music to my ears. So
now, one kind of last thing I wanted to talk about as part of this short film, and really not just part, but in a way a backbone of the short film, is the integration of music of Daniel Caesar, who's you guys probably know who he is. If you don't, he's a famous R&B singer. What do you describe? His music is not simply R&B, but it
seemed to start in more of a kind of conventional R&B jazz parameters from
elements of pop and hip hop and all sorts of popular music. However, he's a singer. And his album Case Study 01, which was released, I should know this,
2019.
19, okay. So it's all music from that album, correct?
Music from, so it's actually, it's a full-on smorgasbord, because we have a selection from his first major album, or I don't know if it would have been
commercial release.
Commercial release,
right?
Yeah, I don't know all the right terminology for it, but it was Pilgrim's Paradise, and that was in 2015.
Okay.
And his song Paradise makes a quick appearance, but regardless, in any case, it's selections from all of his music, dating all the way back to 2015.
I didn't know that.
So we've got Paradise, but we've also got a couple of songs from Freudian, a couple of songs from Case Study. 01, and then a couple of singles.
Awesome.
So and this is only 15 minutes now. So there's when you say integrated, it truly it is it is the thematic spine. It is the texture. Is the production design. It's the that sonic production design, if anything. But it has become gospel for the film. I mean, it's the voice. It's his voice is haunting the film. Yeah. And given that he has just tried his hand at so many different sectors of that genre, there is such a wide range of sound that he makes. Yeah. That we were able to, at least at this point, which of course it should be known that we don't have permission from him. We're currently in the process of pursuing him and trying to make something happen, trying to make it work, trying to get him to watch the film. And
this is our call to Daniel Caesar right now.
Absolutely. And so obviously, we can talk as if it were ideally, will be the final release. The final released version will have all of these selections. But very well, given how great he is and how in demand he might be, that might not work out. So we know that obviously we can't do anything publicly without his permission, and so that's what we're pursuing right now. But we really are pursuing it because it has become one and the same. It's become his equally as much as mine or Jenna's or Kevin's or Kai's or Liz Crossar, who's our amazing producer. It's become. He's a part of he doesn't even probably know about us yet, but he's become a part of that a feeling of family, and it wasn't even the case until after we had wrapped the film. So we had shot the entire film, and I had which I'm pretty sure I've shared with you, a playlist of a lot of inspiration tracks from artists like Unknown Mortal Orchestra, Infinite Bisis, Crumb, Mac Miller, Helium, like so, and nothing from Daniel Caesar because I hadn't at that point I had made that playlist. I hadn't discovered him yet. Casey Quaife is the one who one time on that Destined night when we were just chilling watching videos and music videos and stuff like that, he had just randomly said
some case study. Okay,
and this is actually the same day that I was talking to JJ Gordon on his podcast. This must have just been a
the stars aligned.
A destined day. But once I listened to his music, I definitely tried the idea of having a song or two to option to see if we could actually make it into the final cut. But when I was making the proxies, once we had wrapped, which proxies are smaller, condensed, more manageable file size copies of all the footage that we shot, so I can edit without it just lagging to bits and everything. So that takes a long process, and it took a week on my laptop that I have, and so it gave me a lot of time to really curate the kind of the playlist. Once I had finally realized Daniel Caesar's music for this film, his sound and everything that he gives is just the optimal best version of sound that you could have. So I could go and try to find one of the amazing tracks from Home Shake or Helium or all of those,
any of those
artists, and that would have been great because they're freaking great. But his music just did it better. It was just every single.
It was the same essence, right?
It was the same essence at its perfection, at perfection, and so knowing that and honestly, in a weird in another way where art imitates reality a little bit, I was also listening to him for my own shit. I was going through some of my own stuff and would and went to his music a lot because it was a refuge. Given just how beautiful his stuff is, it wasn't easy or it wasn't hard to always revisit it. And so it became more than that. It just became sort of like I said, this art imitating reality, this kind of paralleled meaning behind using his music and then listening to it, you know, as I edit and as I'm building and now the music and the video and the film have fallen into a communal groove, and they are one and the same. And until, you know, the event comes where we either get a yes or a no and have to kind of reconceptualize the film, it will maintain like kind of this feeling of what's the word? This kind of hybrid, this synthesis.
Yeah,
like it's
they're one and the same, like you were saying.
Yeah. It's just it's and with every sort of draft that I did, it just became that even more truly.
More and more clear.
Yeah.
More and more stated. Yeah.
Right. So
very nice.
Yeah, it's something that we kind of day by day just regroup and try to find new ways to get a hold of him, because, you know, he's worth it.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
Daniel, if you're listening to this, check your email.
Yeah.
You know,
check your
Devon
email, check your
Solwold
management's email, check your check your
Instagram.
publicist's email, check your Instagram,
Yeah.
check your comments, check everything. I swear there's a footprint of Devon Solwold or Empty Nesters put into all of those places.
Yeah.
So
very nice. Very nice.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, I don't know. I know we're probably getting to the point where we should wrap it up. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that you wanted to say? I guess one thing that right now, it's just after Christmas 2020, we're heading into New Year's here. Do you know when the film would be available to the public? Or I know you've released a trailer snippet. What's the next step? I know you're still working things out with the music we just talked about. But.
Right. Well, it's kind of up in the air, because depending on what does become of you know, prospects like Daniel Caesar, it'll kind of decide what we think would be the best way to distribute it. So that will come first. So when I say distribution, it usually it usually involves festival distribution or streaming, you know, that also involves Vimeo and YouTube. You know, it'll ultimately be released on my Vimeo.
Okay.
But until that time, there'll hopefully be a good run, a good festival life, and a good run of even maybe something even more nuanced than a normal festival run, which is usually what short films are prescribed when you're trying to get, you know, exposure and everything. So it kind of just depends, but I would say, you know, the soonest you'd be able to see a full cut as a public link would probably be next year at some time, perhaps the fall, the early fall.
Okay.
But as things go, you know, develop, you know, more and more, there'll be more pieces of content kind of
released.
Yeah, released that are hitched to the story or hitched to the film itself. So.
And then, if there's a place, or is there a place that people should go if they're trying to check out either Empty Nesters or other projects that you've worked on? Is your Vimeo or maybe your Instagram? I don't know if you have like links from your Instagram, or I don't know if you want to throw out a place, but just if people do want to check out Devon Solwold's work, I don't know if you have a little.
Well, I'm learning, so I'm trying to be better about social media and stuff like that, and trying to make it cater to more of the work that I'm doing versus more of the personal stuff, which is kind of how I used it before. So I'm kind of in the beginning phases of that, but you know, you could probably, if you look up Kai Dixon, Kai Dixon, Dickson, he's got a lot of we worked on a lot of projects together, and he's got his stuff laid out, and he's got a great website to showcase the work that we've done, and also his amazing work that he's done on his own or with the crew that we worked with on Empty Nesters. You go to Kai's, it'll branch out to all the great work that all of my buddies have done too. So that's probably as far as I could say as far as being able to reach. Well, that's good enough.
Stuff. Yeah, that sounds good to me. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. This has been a great time, sir. My great friend, Devon Solwold.
Casey Quaife just waited outside.
Casey Quaife is waiting outside.
Waiting for round 2 to talk movies and TV.
Yes. See you guys later.